The Auburn Tigers back on the road this weekend to take on Ole Miss. James Crepea in Auburn right now on the plains joining me to talk a little bit about Gus Malzahn's press conference. And first things first, Kerryon Johnson expected to be back in the running back rotation. What does this mean for this team and for this offense?
Well, having your number one skill position player on offense back is a huge benefit for Auburn. Obviously, Kerryon was very close to coming back last week. And really one of the most impressive aspects to me of Auburn's just dominating performance of Arkansas was not only the 543 yards and not only the career day for Cameron Petway, rushing yards that was, but they did it without Kerryon Johnson. You almost want to imagine like what would it look like, as absolutely mind-blowing and record-setting as it was with Cameron Petway leading the way. How much more could Auburn have done if Kerryon Johnson had been fully ready to go? And he suited up and he went through pregame warm-up, so you knew he was close. It was a game-time decision. So hearing that he's expected to play this week at Ole Miss is really not all that surprising, but it is certainly a big benefit for Auburn.
Okay, so we talk about Kerryon Johnson. Cam Petway also entrenched in this offense. Who would you say is back there in the backfield as sort of the number 3 biggest weapon for Auburn?
I'd say number 3 at this point is probably Cam Martin. I think he showed that a good amount. Now, granted, if you throw in a JF3 and what John Franklin III can do as a running option, he probably is the 3rd option as far as just general running ability. But look, you saw Stanton Truitt last week also get involved. He's moving on up. He very well could be number 3 as well. You've got different options. I think it has to do more with the personnel package than anything else. But Stanton Truitt, he showed last week how much he's moved up in the pecking order and how much he's done at the running back position already. John Franklin III is a multiple quarterback, clearly can do a lot when he's on the field, and Cam Martin has explosiveness. So I think it would probably be certainly one of those 3 guys, but when you get into 3rd in the pecking order, it probably is Truitt out of the 3, but Cam Martin definitely offers the most unique skill set of those traditional running backs, and then by just sheer uniqueness, it would be John Franklin III.
Yeah, James, and my final question for you. Gus Malzahn said this Ole Miss team definitely better than their record indicates. What do you think the biggest challenges this Auburn team faces when they go on the road this weekend to Oxford?
I think it's partly the environment and probably facing the biggest aspect is facing a team who really has nothing to lose in a sense. I mean, look, Ole Miss is already in a little bit of a disappointing spot. To be 3-4, to be 1-3 in the SEC. I was chatting with a couple of people today, just amongst ourselves and saying, it wouldn't surprise me terribly much, quite frankly, if Hugh Freeze kind of called this game a little bit like Steve Spurrier called the game against Auburn in 2014, in the sense that, they were going for it on 4th down. They were rolling the dice. There was nothing to lose that day. There's everything to gain for Ole Miss in this position. They really need this win. They still have some tough games down the stretch to try and get to 6, quite frankly. If they were to lose this, they would be really up against it. Whereas Auburn certainly definitely wants to keep the momentum going, definitely wants to stay in contention in the SEC West and make a go of this thing and keep the momentum going and pick up a tough road win at Ole Miss. But Ole Miss is looking at potentially having 2 starting offensive linemen down, obviously coming off a disappointing performance against the running game of Leonard Fournette and LSU. Well, if you're doing that and you're ranking in the over 100, I think it's 113th against the run, and you're going up against one of the best rushing offenses in the country who's getting another major weapon back in Kerryon Johnson. Yeah, there's a lot of things that are stacked against Ole Miss, but if you can turn the tables a bit, not only using the home field advantage to your advantage, but using, potentially going on 4th down a bit and rolling the dice a bunch, I could see that being a huge obstacle because play calling wise and just adjusting to a team who wants to go out there with a little bit of reckless abandon, that would be a big adjustment for any defensive coordinator, no matter how good the defense is performing. And Auburn's defense is playing very well.
James, thank you so much. All good stuff there. We will see you in Oxford on Saturday.